What's going on, everybody? This is Brian Mazique, aka Unique Mazique, the hardest working man in sports and gaming. I am a fight guy, a Forbes contributor, and I also write for Heavy.com. And we're going to talk about UFC 249, going through fight by fight. It's time for Aleksei Oleinik against Fabricio Werdum. Before I get into it, make sure you guys hit that like button. Subscribe if you have not. Hit the notifications bell as well. If you like it that much, you should also go ahead and share it. If you're interested in the other UFC 249 odds, previews, and predictions that I've done, upper right corner, you'll see that little sliver there. You can click on that and you can see the playlist. This shows all of the odds, previews, and predictions for every fight on the card. We are in the mid-level prelims right now, and it's another heavyweight battle. The heavyweights are going to get quite a bit of shine on this particular card. Just on the main card alone, or just the main card in the mid prelims alone, you got like three of them that are, I think, relatively significant. I'm not going to say they're all like title contention type fights, but you're right there. You're right there with most of these fights. So let's look here at Oleinik against Werdum. We have two of the elder statesmen, so to speak, in the heavyweight division here. Both of these guys are going to be 43 years old this summer. I think Werdum turns 43 in June and Oleinik 43 in July, or it might be the other way around. Either way, it's pretty close to 43. Let's look at the odds courtesy of Bet Online. These are pretty wide, and I'm going to explain to you in a second why I think these odds might be a bit kind of crazy wide. But Werdum's a minus 315 favorite, and I understand why to a degree, but we'll talk. Plus 265 underdog for Aleksei Oleinik. Now, let's look at what's been going on in the last three fights for these two guys. Now, for Werdum hasn't fought in 2 years. He is coming off of a suspension for a banned substance. So his last fight actually was a fourth round TKO loss to Alexander Volkov. It was pretty nasty. Back in 2018, Volkov just pretty much dismantled him. Too long. Werdum could never get inside to initiate any sort of grappling. Volkov is just too big and too skilled as a striker, and he pretty much dismantled Werdum. Things just didn't look good for him after that fight, even during that fight. But prior to that, Werdum did beat Marcin Tybura, and that was in November 2017, when that went by unanimous decision. And before that, he beat a late replacement in Walt Harris. Walt Harris stepped up to take that fight. I thought it was a bad decision. You do not want a late replacement step in to face Fabricio Werdum, especially if you're not a grappler anyway, right? Walt Harris is a striker, stand-up guy all the way. He took a massive risk, I thought, stepping in short notice, taking that fight, and he lost by first round arm bar. So I know that was like if you were betting on that fight, it was probably like the easiest bet you could ever do, because I don't think Walt Harris put himself in a position to win that fight at all. It'd be tough even if he had a full training camp, let alone doing it on short notice. So those are the last three fights for Werdum. Let's look at Oleinik. Oleinik is 1-2 in his last three fights. He's not coming off any sort of suspension. As a matter of fact, he just fought in January. He fought Maurice Green. He is the crochet KO king. I thought that Maurice Green had a chance to win this fight. I thought he needed to use his length. He's like 6'7". I thought he allowed Oleinik to get inside his jab, inside some attacks on the base that I felt didn't quite utilize well enough. He kept lifting the kicks up too high, which is obviously what initiating the takedown. He ultimately ended up losing by a second round arm bar, so that was a win for Oleinik. The two fights before that, Oleinik fought Walt Harris and got destroyed in 12 seconds. So, yeah, that's not what you want at all. The fight before that, he got knocked out in the first round. Nasty knee from Alistair Overeem. So he was coming off two straight KO victories. And when you get knocked out in your 40s, every single loss, you got to be wondering, yeah, should this still be what I'm doing? So he pressed through that. Ended up getting the second round submission victory over Maurice Green to set up this fight for him to be the return opponent against Fabricio Werdum. So we're going to look now at the way the stats break down for these guys. And for both of these fighters, they have been active in the UFC for so long, you actually have real data that you can kind of draw off of. Aleksei Oleinik, just listen to this. His professional record is 58-13-1. That's insane for mixed martial arts. And Werdum is 23-8-1. Looking at the striking, which is interesting, right? Because both of these guys love to grapple. They're both outstanding submission practitioners. So you got to always watch yourself on the ground with both of these guys, right? Both Oleinik and Werdum land about half of their strikes, 50% for Oleinik, 51% for Werdum. If you look at the strikes landed per minute, that's also relatively close. A shade over 3 for Oleinik, and you got 3.61 for Werdum. Looking at strikes absorbed, which is probably a little closer than you think, because Oleinik's definitely not hard to hit. He's taken 3.2 shots per minute in his fights, and his strike defense is only 49%. Werdum getting hit a lot less, 2.45 on the strikes absorbed, and his strike defense is 56%. Werdum has really improved dramatically as a striker. There was a time in his mixed martial arts career where it was pretty much grapple or nothing. He'd lay on his back, kick up, and just really frustrate guys. Almost Ryan Hall-ish, nearly that way, right? And I don't knock Ryan Hall. You win the way you win. A lot of people hate to watch him fight, but Werdum as a heavyweight, that was really not received well at all by a lot of opponents and a lot of fans. So maybe that had something to do with why he changed up his style and got a lot better in the stand-up. If you look at the grappling, which I don't know, you have to wonder how this fight is going to take place. Oleinik's going to go after the takedown. He's heavy-handed, he's strong. But you'd have to think that he knows that he probably can't stand and trade with Werdum. Verdum's just a little bit too skillful on his feet at this point. He uses kicks well, knees, throws the hands pretty solidly. I think Oleinik is the more powerful striker, but it's really nothing more than a big overhand right. That's pretty much all he's going to bring there. He's going to go for the takedowns. He usually goes for, according to the stats, 3 takedowns per 15 minutes. Werdum only going for 1.6 of them, and Oleinik's getting 46% accuracy rate on his takedowns. Werdum's only getting 30%. Takedown defense, neither guy fights the takedown all that well by a percentage standpoint, but you could make the argument that neither one of them really cares if they're taken down. Namely, Oleinik, who is so deadly off his back, is insane. That Ezekiel choke is ridiculous. And he can pull it off from just about any sort of predicament. And so his takedown defense is only 20%, but to assume that that's equated to a lack of effectiveness in that area is kind of not knowing the fighter. His takedown defense is almost irrelevant because most people don't want to be down there with him. Now, Werdum might actually be one of the few exceptions. Werdum might not run away from a exchange with Oleinik on the ground. That would be really interesting to see from people who are really strong grappling fans of that aspect of mixed martial arts, because you got 2 big skilled guys on the ground who will normally or probably be jockeying for position to see who is superior down there. Now, for Werdum, the path of least resistance is more than likely to keep this fight standing. He can pick Oleinik apart if he is who he was the last time we saw him. And I don't mean Volkov, because that was obviously a loss. But I think the odds makers, with having things this wide, minus 315, plus 265, I think the odds makers are automatically saying that Werdum will be the Werdum that we last saw. And when we're talking about fighters in their 40s, I don't think that's just something you can take for granted, especially when one is coming off of a 2-year layoff because he tested positive for a banned substance. And on top of that, he happens to be coming back during a global pandemic, and he's fighting in an arena where there won't be any fans. The training camp has to have been odd. There's a lot of variables here to have to consider for us to just automatically set odds and go after this as if this is going to be the Werdum of old. Oleinik just fought in January. So I don't know. I certainly don't agree with the wideness of these odds. I still have to lean towards Werdum winning the fight because I just feel like he'll take advantage of things on the feet. But there's room for error here for this not to be as wide of a result as the odds would indicate. So I am going to go with the favorite, but I'm just telling you, these are this is shakier than these odds would suggest. But my official prediction is Werdum winning by decision. We'll see what happens. As usual, I appreciate you watching. God bless and peace.